Welcome back to Bumblebee. Here are the top 10 facts you didn't know about the Great Fire of London 1666. Number 10, fire starter. Okay, what in the blazes happened? How does such a tragedy unfold in the first place? Let's start there, shall we? Well, it was a Sunday for starters. It was the 2nd of September in 1666. This was of course a long time ago, and even today it's hard to pinpoint what can cause a wildfire. Today it's more often than not gender reveal parties. That's the culprit for wildfires. But historians believe the Great Fire of 1666 started with a baker's oven. Yeah, specifically the baker of King Charles II, but we didn't know that for a while. I'll get to that later on. This blaze all began near London Bridge on Pudding Lane. So British, the most British sentence I've ever said in my entire life. But it didn't take long to spread. That's the thing about these wildfires. They don't like stopping, and they love wind. Number 9, old houses. Okay, we're talking about medieval London here, right? This is 1666, the time where every house in the city was constructed of old oak or timber. It was gross, right? It was all woody. It was just woody stuff. But to add more history to the mix, these houses often had walls covered in tar. Yeah, tar, in order to keep the rain out. Now that worked, but in doing so, the fire spread a lot easier. Yeah, it was a little bit messier. Streets were narrow, houses were huddled up close to one another, and firefighters were not a thing, really, at the time at all. I mean, compared to what we have now, not even close. Citizens were told to always check for dangers in their homes, but one baker, he forgot to look. Number 8. The first victim. Miraculously, only 6 people died in the Great Fire of 1666. That's amazing. I mean, obviously it's horrible, of course, and that's still a great loss of life, but this fire destroyed 4/5 of London, yet somehow the death toll was below 10 people? That's wild. I don't want to put the blame on one person here, but we kind of have to. Yeah, one baker left the oven ablaze, and his name was Thomas Fariner. And as I mentioned earlier, he was the king's baker. Sometime around midnight, only a couple hours after he went to bed, these hot embers ignited firewood lying next to the oven. He didn't check thoroughly enough, and then the rest is history. Now, Fariner thankfully managed to escape with his family as well as a servant. They all escaped through a window at the top floor, but the baker's assistant was sadly the first victim. Number 7, a desperate flee. So once this fire began, there was no stopping, right? The fire department, I'll explain more of that in a bit, they couldn't stop this raging fire. Nobody could. Citizens fled and ran down to the Thames River, and their goal was to escape the smoke and chaos by boat, hopefully. Now, a few Londoners were brave and they stuck around. A handful of citizens assisted local soldiers, carrying buckets of water, splashing water on anything and everything. They were doing anything they could, but ultimately they were ordered to leave as the flames would burn on for days longer. Number 6, stopping the blaze. This blaze was so bright you could see it from 30 miles away, okay? It was horrible, but it was quite a spectacle. It took days to get this under control, and the way they did so was by purposely igniting buildings that had gunpowder in their storage on fire. Yeah, the reaction caused the building to, of course, blow to smithereens, meaning that there's now nowhere else for said fire to travel. Yeah, let's stop this fire by igniting a few controlled fires. Sounds bad on paper, but it was the only solution available at the time. And we still do this today, to a degree. You know, we don't blow up any buildings, but we're like, we'll just cut off this crop right here. Number 5. Fake news. The amount of questions that were pouring in after this, I mean, how did this happen? Who started the fire? What do we do now? Are we all what's happening? Desperate souls were seeking answers. Now, in the following years, around the 1670s, a monument column was put up near the blaze's origin. We believe it was designed by architect Robert Hooke, but some cases source Christopher Wren. Now, it's important to note their names or include them because on this actual column, over 200 feet tall, full of engravings and sculptures, all that good historic stuff, on this column, it told the story of what went wrong that fateful day. And it wasn't exactly accurate now, was it? The fire was due to the hand of God, a great wind, and a very dry season. Yeah, that's it. Just bad luck, I guess. An inscription on the monument has thankfully been removed since 1830, but it actually blamed the disaster on the treachery and malice of the popish faction. Yeah, you did this. He's like, what? I was asleep, what? Cut to 1986, a little further away, London's baker finally took the blame and apologized to the Lord Mayor for setting fire to the city. Yeah, a little late, but we'll all accept it, thank you. Members of the worshipful company of bakers gathered on Pudding Lane. They unveiled a plaque to Thomas Fariner. And it was he was guilty of causing the Great Fire of 1666. Yeah, it wasn't a great wind, wasn't the hand of God. It was Thomas. Let's all get it straight. Number 4. Damage control. In total, the fire took out 13,000 houses, 90 churches, and most famously, the old St. Paul's Cathedral was destroyed. The people that did escape with only a few belongings, well, now they were homeless. It was horrible. It's estimated that 100,000 people were just left on the streets. King Charles II acted quickly. He was dead set on rebuilding, of course, after this point, right away. And that's when the legendary architect Sir Christopher Wren entered the picture. He designed a new St. Paul's Cathedral with dozens of smaller churches spaced around it in order to prevent future fires. That was the goal here. That's the city that we now recognize today. It was the result of a massive hazard, right? We're looking at a big safety map. We don't even realize it. Now we look back after this tragedy and the following houses were made of brick or stone or, something. Something better than tar and wood, you know what I mean? And London's streets became even wider to prevent spread of a further flame. Even so, fire departments weren't actually active until the 18th century, which is still wild. Number 3, backup plans. So what if this happened again? We need to prepare, right? This almost ruined London. Well, this was a business opportunity as well, right? Of course. Insurance companies hit the market. Hey, if another blaze takes out 4/5 of your land, you're gonna need a couple bucks, right? Come buy some insurance. We got your back. That was the commercial, Just on a wagon. Hey, we got your back. It's easy. Instead of a little gecko insurance guy, it's just like a little knight. You could hire your own fire brigade in case shit goes south. Nicholas Barbin created London's first insurance company, appropriately named the Fire Office. Other companies followed, and by 1690, 1 in 10 houses in London had insurance. We love a good business structure, post-apocalyptic biblical blaze. Keep it up, guys. Number 2, nursery rhymes. Just like any other major event in history, you gotta make a song about it, right? Or at least include it in a verse or two. We love historical references, especially with a sick beat. Awesome, cool. Now, Jay-Z hasn't mentioned the Great Fire of 1666, not yet, or at least not to my knowledge. But there is a popular nursery rhyme about it, called London's Burning. It's a pretty on-the-nose title for a nursery rhyme surrounding a great tragedy, but okay. The Clash as well, they have songs referencing London's downfall, and there's even a TV show called London's Burning, and it centers around firefighters in London. It's a pretty good one. I saw a clip and I was like, this is pretty intense. It's good stuff. And finally, number 1, Nostradamus predictions. Yeah, who knew we were warned about this great blaze the entire time? Nostradamus, the Bible, everyone's calling this shit. Many religions have influenced the public belief of the end of the world, and this one's from all the way back before the 1600s. Now in the Bible, it references the number 666 as the number of the beast. So many Christians in Europe back in the 1600s, they believed that the world was going to end sometime around 1666. And then this happens. They're like, is this it? What the Fast forward to that year, September of 1666, the Great Fire of London actually happened, so many saw this as the prophecy of the end of the world coming true. I mean, of course, thousands of people fleeing to the river with their belongings, what else does that look like? On the bright side of all this, pun not intended, with all the property damage here, the death toll for this Great Fire was only 6 people. Wasn't exactly the end of the world, but it was for those 6, sadly. And this happened on the year of the beast. Coincidence, or did the Bible actually predict the blaze? Maybe the baker started the blaze on purpose because I need to go to sleep. I can't go down that route. I've been your host, Taylor McWaters. Thank you so much for joining us on Bumblebee. Those are the top 10 facts you didn't know about the Great Fire of London, 1666. Hit that thumbs up for more hot lists coming in hot. Plague, not a plague, Jesus. They're like, another plague? They're like, no, please stop it.